What is going on, all you amazing YouTube viewers? Now, I'm super excited to begin this project and just playlist in general. And as we roll through this kind of long form video here, I'm going to just give you a description of what I'm thinking, what we got going on in the studio, and where this project is going. Now, as you can see here, this is a casted item of my original sculpture. Now, I did create a video of me creating the mold for these items. These are a little set of magnets. Now, one thing that you'll notice with these magnets is the magnets themselves are not visible. I casted these items from my original clay sculptures, and I made it to where the magnets are set into the actual magnets, the housing or the coating, right? This is a smooth on smooth cast 320. I also will use 300 depending on how I feel at the time and which one I want to order. Sometimes they have sales on particular types of smooth on polyplastics, and those are the ones I'll usually lean towards because I'm base coating and painting them anyways to perfection. So I really don't care what color the actual polyplastic is that I'm casting with, as long as it is of good quality. Now, smooth on. I use Smooth On for a lot of the projects that I create here in my art studio, and you'll find that in a lot of the dioramas, a lot of the sculptures, a lot of my mold making, and you can find all of that on my YouTube channel in its own individual playlist. But I will give props to Smooth On. They are an amazing product company. I would love to get affiliated with them in some way in the future and do videos for them. I don't foresee myself ever really using another like mold medium or plastic medium company. They have everything that I need, and they're meeting the needs that I have for the art that I'm creating. Okay, there's a free plug for Smooth On right there. Now, this is the first one of these that I have actually created, and I have been creating these little micro painting videos in an extreme time lapse, which is really just fun, quick videos, maybe like 10-minute long, extremely easy to binge watch videos. Now, those are available to everybody through my YouTube channel. Now, this content that you're watching here, if you are watching this, you are a member of my YouTube channel, more than likely. You are the VIP of my channel, and I'm super excited that you're able to join me in this long form content. So my goal with these videos is just to really slow things down, really just enjoy the painting process with you here in the studio, not a bunch of fast-paced background music, and we're just going to enjoy just the painting process. I'll do a lot of these in the near future, and I'm not going to only just do them for the magnet series or playlist that I'm creating here. I'm also going to do them for paintings and all sorts of things. And as my channel grows and I start to intensify my overall workspace in the studio and out in the workshop, as I start to make bigger pieces of artwork and sculptures, I'm going to do more live format content for you, my members. So although we're going to start with a slow rolling pace, it's going to intensify, and I hope to be able to give you guys a lot of fun, real-time material that you can just enjoy, learn from, and just have fun, right? The whole goal of the entertainment purposes of YouTube is just to enjoy the content that you're consuming, and I hope you meet that, see that on my YouTube channel, okay? Now let's talk about this little ghoul here. This is a magnet set. This is the first of 3. I'm going to create a lot of these. I have about 200 or 300 of these planned out, and there's 200 or 300 sets. So in each set, I plan to make at least 2, 3, up to 7 magnets in each set, depending on how intense those projects are. But they're all my original sculpted designs, right? I sculpt them from scratch, from clay. I bake them, I mold and cast them, and then I start casting them out of polyplastics with the magnets set into the actual the item here. So what we're going to do here is I will be able to use these and create other things in the future. I could create like ornaments or little book bag trinkets, things like that, and I'll probably open it up to that eventually. And if somebody wants to order something like that, where it has like just like a ring clip connected to the top of the head or something, I can definitely make that. That's not a problem. I'll probably open that up at some point, anyways. However, we gotta walk before we run, right here in the studio. So this is a new venture, and we're just gonna kind of just enjoy the painting process for this video. Okay, so we'll loop back around to the actual magnet sets later on down the road, or maybe later in this video if we want to talk about it some more. Okay. So here you can see I am rolling in with a neon purple. Now this is a new pack of paint that I had ordered off of Amazon. I really want to get some luminous paint from a specific brand on Amazon that I've been eyeballing, but it's a really expensive paint. And I just have not found the necessity to really invest in that really expensive pack of luminous paint. It's like a very vibrant like a neon paint set, and I'm going to start off with a cheaper pack here. So I do have this on my Amazon affiliate list in the description below if y'all want to check that out. It's under the painting playlist there, or list on Amazon. You can check out this kind of cheaper version of neon paints. They do come in a tube form, and they are really vibrant. I'm really liking the color combination so far. And me making these little ghouls as some of the first magnets I'm creating, I'm able to kind of experiment and test out some of these more vibrant neon paints and see how they react over white or black base coats. I also did early on create a little bit of shadow here. I used a little bit of Mars black or pitch black, but it doesn't matter what kind of black. Just use a black, and I kind of blacked out the eyes, the nose or the nostril, as well as around the mouth and the tongue and so forth like that. Kind of the divots around like the temples of the face, and it kind of gives it an undershadow. And then we're going to go ahead and just continue on with this purple here. I'm just using a small like little filbert or dagger brush here. It's almost a brush that's been so deteriorated that I can't even tell what it is anymore. It's not like we're using some refined brushes here. It really doesn't matter. You can just use some craft brushes that you buy at Walmart or something like that. Sometimes when you're crafting, maybe not painting like on an expensive canvas, but when you're crafting, you can just use some crud brushes and get away with just creating some fun art. You don't have to have really expensive art mediums and brushes and stuff to create just fun things. You also don't have to have a studio. You can just literally just have fun at your kitchen table. I know a few artists that I talk to on a daily basis, and they just paint right at the kitchen counter with a cup of coffee. And then when they're done with it, they just kind of slide it into a closet on the shelf. And then when they're ready to pull it back out again, they do. So you don't have to have a designated room in your house to create awesome paint and projects. Now, I will kind of fade in and out as we get through this. I don't want this to be a super fast paced video, right? We're in a real-time format here. So this is a real-time me painting this little item here. And you may think to yourself, well, this is a 45-minute video. You're going to sit here and paint this little magnet for 45 minutes? Yeah, I am. I got some music playing in the background. I'm not painting live on YouTube right now. I am recording, but I'm just going to enjoy the process and just have fun. So I'm really just enjoying the paints that I have laid out and taking my time. That's why I'm using a super small brush instead of like just a larger filbert to kind of really just apply large swaths of paint. By using a smaller brush, it makes you slow down and take your time and be more methodical about where you put those paint layers. Now you will also notice that this magnet does have a lot of sculpt lines in it. Yes, it does. Now the mold making process, I made sure that I did a brush on mold, and it saved all of those microscopic little details in the clay. And we're going to go ahead and use all sorts of different varieties of techniques and washes and dry brushing and all sorts of things. We're also going to use a heat gun to get a little bit of like kind of puckering on the paint layers, and then we're going to use a little bit of alcohol inks to give the paint a little bit of distressed look before we come in with other layers, and it gives it a really nice skin texture. Just all really cool techniques to kind of create just really fun effects over such a simplistic item. I'm really liking the purple so far, and at this point we're just really just building up the layers, just building up layers. Now, even around the eyes right there, I really did create a lot of like textures and like a circular motion with the dental tools during the sculpting process. Made sure that a lot of the eye has a lot of like circular texture around that. So it just like makes it look like the eye is just like kind of rounded or popping out there. Now, I almost do like the eyes blacked out. They look pretty cool. But just to kind of keep it very, a little bit more cartoony and light and fun and airy, I do think that I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of white paint to the eyes. And then maybe we'll dinge them out with some browns and washes and things. So it would be cool to keep the eyes black. And I may do that in another variant of this project later on down the road. Maybe I'll make these in like a realistic zombie texture or something like that. But in like I said, I'll make those in both a short form and a long form content as well, so you can enjoy that as well if you are a member of my channel. Just trying to push it into all of the recesses right there. I'm not going out of my way to completely cover up all of the shadow that I applied in the original black base coat, but I'm just making sure that I don't miss any spots, and then have a lot of that white base coat just showing through. Now, if you are a member of my channel here, of course, my membership at this point in time is relatively new, and I'm just unlocking it. But let me know in the comments below, or reach out to me through email, or even Messenger. Let me know, what kind of art mediums are you guys into? I'll probably release a poll shortly after this video is released, because at this point my channel is starting to grow a little bit more faster pace, and I would like to know, what kind of mediums are you guys interested in? What kind of like collections are you interested in? Are you interested in just like canvas work, or do you like molding and casting? Do you like sculptures? Of course, you know that I'm a channel of all sorts of mediums, but what are you into? What kind of mediums do you enjoy watching? Do you want to see long form content? Do you guys want to see more specific live form content? Do you want me to have member only events where we sculpt live with each other, or do like live paintings? Let me know in the description below. Reach out to me, take my polls, check out my community page. Let me know what you guys like. I really want your input, and I really want to make my YouTube channel not just something that I enjoy kind of over watching and maintaining and going back in my own videos and watching, but I want to make sure it's something that you guys enjoy as well. I'm here to create content and enjoy the journey of YouTube, along with just sharing my artwork with you guys, and I want to hear from you. So reach out to me, let me know in the comments below, and I'll probably ask you that again in the future, but I want to know. Now, our purple base coat is really starting to build up here, guys. Now, we did this very slowly in just different layers. So as one layer kind of dried out, we're going to kind of go work over another one. Now, in all reality, I could have just completely ripped this thing over with some paint. Like, I could just completely wiped it out with a thick layer of purple. But because we're applying thin layers, it just means that I don't have to worry about all of those little sculpted details getting washed out by a thick layer of paint. And when you just apply small thin layers like this, it just kind of keeps all of those details. So we're going to go ahead and start introducing a little bit of titanium white now, and we're just going to go ahead and it's not really a true dry brush, but we are going to start to introduce a little bit of this lighter color here. I just felt like the paint's drying out a little bit too dark than I would like to see, and adding in a little bit of that titanium white is going to kind of brighten it up a little bit, make it look a little bit more pink, and of course we're going to come in with more layers later, but for now we're going to go ahead and brighten it up a little bit with that titanium white additive there. We can go ahead and just apply this sporadically around. Again, we're not going out of our way to give it a true dry brush right now, but we're also not pushing that just directly into all of the crevices. Also, just being very selective about where I put that color there. I'm kind of really just wanting to make it like the outskirts of the jaw, around the nose, around the upper portions of the eye, things like that. Almost off camera, guys. So we'll go ahead and apply a little bit to the top of the head there. You can really see some of those, raised the details kind of showing through there as we apply those lighter colors there. And I'm using the side of the brush there again. So we're using the side of the brush, and this is more so of a dry brush a little bit here. And we're just letting that side of the brush just kind of like just barely caress the top raised sculpted textures there. You see the color is already starting to transform, and you see a little bit of that darker purple still in the temple. where it's over that black shadow there. Now, of course, this is just one painting variant of this. I'm going to paint this thing 1,000 times in the future, and I probably will paint it a lot of different ways. Let's be honest, I'm probably going to create like different variants of the same ghoul, but I do have like other ghouls to paint, right? So we'll probably use some different colors on the other ones, and we'll probably paint those in the similar kind of overall like paint palette. Like, you know, we'll just use different neons on those. But it's gonna be the same overall painting style because I want to make sure this first set are kind of like painted out the same general matching way. They would just be different neon colors, and then of course they would be sold in a set. The customer who orders these off of my Etsy or website would be able to choose the specific color that they would like in the set that they order. We're leaning more into the titanium white now. Now, the reason I'm doing this before the wash is because when you apply the higher colors of the titanium white before you do a wash, the wash will intensify these whites a lot, and it will bring out a lot of brown details. It's something minor, but it's pretty cool. Just imagine that we're putting like sunscreen on the ghoul. We don't want you to get a sunburn, Mr. Ghoul, so we need to go ahead and give you a little bit of sunscreen around the nose, around the top of your head. He doesn't have any hair, he's balding, guys, so we need to make sure that he has a full coverage here. Just being a little bit of dry brush action here. Go around the jawbone a little bit with this, not as heavy as the top of the head, but we want to make sure that it gets a nice, good layer here. I think you should get around the eye there. Both eyes, indeed. Now, this is the point where I'm almost thinking to myself, well, you know, I could probably get away with making those eyes white, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm just using a micro brush here, and I'm just going to try to push this white color down into the hole. Now, the eye has an actual socket, so like it's sculpted, and the eye has a divot around the outside edge where it's like inset inside the actual plastic. Now, as the mold deteriorates over time of use, this divot around the outside edges of the eyeball will become less and less, and then those details won't be as there. It'll be kind of the socket of the eye will be raised up a little bit, but for now it's there, right? So we're going to go ahead and give the outside portions that we can get to a nice layer of titanium white, and we're going to let this dry for just a few minutes, maybe hit it with a heat gun, and then I will go ahead and begin with the washes. We'll make sure the wash settles into the area around the eyeball, and it will kind of blend in that eye to the socket. And focus on this left side eye here, and we're just going to make sure we give it a nice opaque layer to kind of cover up that black base coat. I think it'd also be kind of cool to give it different color eyes, maybe like neon pink or neon green or purples and things like that. And I designed these ghouls so that I can make them a little bit cartoonish. I know that this one I'm painting now, although it is purple, it's a little bit more of a little bit of a zombie ghoul type of thing. But I did design them with in my head. I thought that they would be a lot more cartoony, like not so much detail, dry brushing and washes. I thought I would make them just solid neon colors, and then just color the eyes and maybe paint the tongue, and then just apply one wash to it, and it would be done. But I enjoy the overall intense detail that we're applying to it now. Now we're going to apply a little bit of a sepia here. This is a very watered down wash sepia. I really love using sepia and burnt umber washes. If you've followed me for a long time, and if you watch a lot of my tutorials, you'll see that I use washes all the time. I think that washes and dry brushes go together like peas and carrots, okay, you guys? I think anybody who's an artist worth their salt and grain will know that the washes are what really intensify and make the process easier. So we're just dabbing some of this into all of the recesses, and then this is going to settle into all of those little sculpted details. Now it's going to darken out the entire project. It is, yes, it will. So we'll come out after this with some more layers of purple and whites, just to give it some raised highlights around the skin. With his white eyes now, he almost looks a little bit demonic, doesn't he? Pretty cool. But again, he is going to be a cartoonish guy. The great thing about the wash is you can just let it do its thing. And then we're going to go ahead and let this dry for just a little bit, and then we can kind of move on to the next stage. Oh, about dropped it, guys. Oh dear. Looking pretty good. Now in future videos, I'm probably just going to hold the items. It just makes it a lot easier, so I probably won't use this little like a jar lid that I'm using now. And it makes things just easier. I just thought that it would be kind of easier to kind of hold on to it. Alright guys, so it's dried a little bit. I hit it with a heat gun just to kind of get some of that moisture off of the surface there. And because that wash was a little bit of alcohol ink in there too, it did create a little bit of pulling and puckering on the skin of the paint. So it creates a really cool, like just kind of like a crinkling effect, and it's just really nice. So we're gonna go ahead and use just a detail brush here, and we're gonna go ahead and start applying some kind of raised highlights to the skin and the nose and the eyes. And I'm also going to start to experiment with what color I would like for the tongue to be. So this version of the ghouls are just funny ghouls with their tongues hanging out. And I kind of started painting them the purple, right? So I started them off with just the purple base color that we're using out of the tube, the neon purple. And it's pretty cool. I'm liking how he's looking. He looks really goofy and he looks funny. And here along the way, I will paint it in a different color, and I'll kind of shade it and give it a lot of highlights and then stuff. And I just didn't like how it looked, so I ended up coming back later on after the fact, and I do paint this later again in the same purple tone. So you'll see me loop back around. Sometimes you paint something and you just really don't like how it looks, and you got to come back around and change it a little bit. Once you find out your overall painting process, then doing the same thing over and over and over again becomes less difficult. Applying some details there with the brush there. Just making sure that I don't kind of like let that paint just like completely just wash over the lower lip or jaw right there. I don't want that to be, I want that to be blended, so I want it to look like the tongue is separated from that skin. So we need to make sure that there's either a shadow line there or some kind of dark wash or something that's separating the open mouth, the jaw, and the tongue. We're going to start to apply a little bit of those highlights to some of the raised edges here. We're going to be very selective about where we apply these. Sometimes when I'm working with the dry brushing and the raised highlights, the slower you move, the better. It just lets you be more meticulous and deliberate about where you apply the paint. Applying a little bit more titanium white here, we're going to start to bring in some more of those highlights right here. I just felt like I needed to go ahead and give it some not like really glaze, but like glares, like highlight glares around the face in particular areas. And it also will help to make the item look a little bit even more 3D, even though it is like a casted item. It makes the item look a little bit more 3D because you're adding the shadow and the highlights in the particular places where it needs to be. Makes it look a little bit more realistic, and just makes it look better. Applying a little bit of that highlight to the jaw right there and the lips. Now it's going to create a little bit of separation between the skin that's exposed to light and the recessed portions of the mouth. So we want to make sure that it kind of has a separation there. So we're going to lean very heavily into that titanium white here. Now I'm also introducing a little bit of that purple as well, just because that's our main primary color for the vibrancy of the theme, the color theme. Look at that. Look at the using the micro brush there. We're able to apply just a little bit of that titanium white to those raised edges of the sculpted texture there. And we're just brightening up the entire project. It really looks good over those existing base coat layers that we've already applied. And then, like I said, as we come in with later colors, we'll kind of slow down on the skin colors and textures, and we'll start to focus more on the eye and the tongue and things like that. Now I'll just continuously apply those highlights there until I just get really truly happy with how they look. And this is more so just a to preference type of thing. Whatever I do, I just apply them in thin layers. That way I can just kind of build those up until I'm happy with it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and apply the actual the iris of the eye. Now, I originally was going to do black eyes, and I decided to go with white eyes this time. And I decided to make it so where like the tongue's going to kind of match the theme, and at least for the first first set of these that I create, I would like for the eyes to match the theme of the color as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these purple. Easy as that. I'm going to make them purple, and then here in a minute when they dry out a little bit, we're going to go ahead and add the pupil to the iris, and then what I'll do is I'll add some light little glazes to the exterior of the eye when I get done. Look, it's looking at us. It's looking at us, right? Now I didn't want it to be looking at us. So I kind of want to make sure the eyes were kind of like straight, but kind of not. But I don't care if they're not absolutely like looking like directly at the viewer. I also probably I kind of really felt compelled to make them really catty cornered and goofy looking, but I didn't do it for this one. Maybe the next one I will do that, but I decided to make them just forward facing eyes this time, guys. We're going to use a little bit of purple here. Now we're going to just do the same dry brushing over some of the raised white areas that we had highlighted. It's going to make the whole ghoul a little bit more purpley. Now this brush is applying quite a bit of paint here. It's a little bit more paint than I would like to have seen, but I've already started and it's already on there, so we're just going to kind of continue the brush throughout the entire project. Just being very finesse with it, like, you know, just being very detailed. I'm just really sitting back on the brush a little bit, letting the bristles do the work for me, and then, you know, the paint just lays where it wants to lay. I'm not really like pushing it in to all of these crevices, or it has to be a particular way. I'm just being very open with it and letting that top purple layer just do what it wants to do. All right, so we're kind of sitting off to the side for just a second while I get some more paint out here, and it's also drying. Like, you know, it's acrylic paint, so it's all ever drying throughout this process. I was actually getting at a little bit more purple here because I just used all that up, and we're coming in with a pure neon purple now, and we're gonna go ahead and just go over particular areas and be very selective about where we apply those bright, pure purple layers. Go over the tops of the eyes there a little bit. Again, this color is still over those titanium white base layers, so they're very. When you go over the titanium white color, white with this color, it really brightens up a little bit. And, it makes it look a little bit more vibrant. Going around the bottom of the jaw right there a little bit. You can see it cover up that white there quite a bit. Little Ghoul's coming along now, guys. Looking pretty cool. What do you think, guys? It's looking pretty good so far. Really happy with how it's turning out. Mr. Purple Ghoul is coming along good. So let's go ahead and give that eye a little bit of life. And we're going to go ahead and add the pupil to the iris. And it's going to kind of bring that eye, it's going to bring it together. It's going to bring it together. And it's going to make it look a little bit more. It's going to pop a little bit better. And then the iris is going to match the overall theme and the color of the casted item that we're painting here. So we'll go ahead and do this for the right hand side, and then we'll turn around and do the left hand side immediately. But I did give it the iris color a little bit of time to dry. We've been working on it for like 4 or 5 minutes since we have painted the iris. We're going to give that just a little bit of time to dry. And then the pupil that we're adding is just a very thick dollop of paint, but I don't want it to be raised up, but I don't want it to be, to be able to see through that black paint. So we're being very generous, make sure it's in a nice smooth circular motion in the center of the eye. Just like that. Absolutely great. Now, as you can see, the little Ghoul is actually looking at us now, so it's a lot better looking than it was before. And all those paint layers on the skin and the tongue are great and all, but when it's not actually looking at us, it just feels like it was just out of place or out of sorts. And when we added those 2 layers of paint to the eyes, it really changed things up. I have a little bit of black paint still on my brush, so I'm going to go ahead and detail paint a little bit of that nostril right there. These little Ghouls don't have any noses, so they're just kind of like cavities, kind of like a rotted skull would be. Applying a little bit of that to the recessed portions under the tongue there. Making sure it has a little bit of shadow there, since I have the black on my brush already, right? Same thing on the left hand side. Making sure we push that a little into the groove of the mouth there, create a little bit of depth. Looking pretty good. What do you think, guys? I think it looks pretty good so far. How is yours coming along if you're following my painting process? Alright, so now I'm just going to go with the micro brush with the same wash browns, the sepia, and a little bit of water there to kind of like just kind of blend it out a little bit. Make sure it's not too harsh of a color, not too opaque. And we're going to go ahead and just use the micro brush here to kind of push this into small recesses. We're going to start to go around the outside edges of the actual white outs of the eye. And with that, we're just going to let that liquid just settle into all the nooks and crannies and do what it wants to do. It's going to apply a lot of that nice brown, rich color to it, and we're just going to let the wash do what it needs to do. Just being very selective about where I place this here. And I mean, there's so many nooks and crannies on the skin texture that I could kind of just let this wash settle into, but at this point, we're just kind of reining ourselves in a little bit. We don't have to cover up everything, and we don't have to do the whole process all over again, which we did with the very first wash, where we just soaked the whole thing. We just really don't need to do that at this stage. The name of the game of this portion of the content here is just to be very selective about where you do and do not apply color. And at a certain point, we just really reach a place where we're just like, is the paintbrush stroke that I'm applying to the item now beneficial to its overall finish and look? Or am I going in circles, or am I doing something just to make another stroke? It's like, well, you have to reach that stage, and the only person who can tell you when to stop is yourself. Applying a little bit of that to the eyebrow there. Little recesses around the eyes. Nice. Using the micro brush there, it doesn't allow us to get very much color on the item, so we just have to keep going back to reload the brush of moisture. We got some titanium white here, guys, and we're gonna add a little bit of glazing, like highlight to the tops of the eyes. Remember we went over the wall, the whites with a little bit of a wash, so we kind of browned them out just a little bit. Now this is just a pure, absolute pure titanium white, and we're adding just a highlight to the top parts of the eyeball, and it makes them look a little bit more realistic. See how they're popping a little bit more? We're also going to add a little glare to the center or off center of each iris, as well as one little divot inside the pupil itself, and it gives the simulation of glare in the eye. Now we are going to apply a little bit of UV resin to this item here, both to the tone to make it look like the item's super drippy and drooly, as well as the eye, but we'll get to that in just a few moments. Now here's where I decided to say, I'm going to change up the tone. Let's make it super highlighted and make it look very wet and nasty. And I was like, let me introduce titanium white to the bottom of the tone so it makes it look like it has a glare. And I'm not saying it doesn't look great. It looks good. And I'm trying to blend that a little bit, make sure it's not such a harsh edge. But at a certain point, I'm just like, I don't know. So we'll kind of switch things up as I kind of work through how I'd like to do the tone here. Setting it a little bit further back so I can just kind of gauge how I would like the item to look. It doesn't look bad, right? It looks pretty good so far, but I had to change it. I went back to the original purple color, but look how bright that is compared to that existing titanium white purple mixture there. This is so much brighter, and the reason I did it is because it pops. If this was on somebody's refrigerator or like hanging from a book bag, like a keychain or something like that, it just pops and it looks absolutely great. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it's really cool. It also kind of like accents the existing original color for the purple that we're using for the whole theme, for the whole project. Although it's not as bright as the skin, it's brighter than the skin. I'm sorry, it's brighter than the skin. It really gives a good contrast to the existing paled out, kind of darker dinged skin. I had to find my words there, guys. There's one thing about making content on YouTube is sometimes I'm just like shooting from the hip on talking to you guys and doing voiceovers or live events, and sometimes I just act goofy and say the wrong things, and I don't want to do a super bunch of editing. So if I make a mistake, I'll just correct myself right then and there and move on, because we're all just human, So okay. So here is with the same pure purple here, and we're going to go over the very specific areas that we want to have just a very vibrant highlight. Going over the eyes there. And I'm hoping that me going over those eyes will just bring a lot of attention to the eyeballs. The eyeballs are really kind of the centerpiece of the face, and hopefully me just applying that a little bit of that vibrant color to the face right there on the forward facing portion of the face will just bring the eyes a little bit. Looking pretty good. What do you think? All right. So we're just going to continue with that purple here around the outside edges of the face there. Now we're going to paint the back of the magnet too. Don't forget that. But I don't think I got that on camera. I don't think I did. But anyways, we're going to paint the back of the magnet in the same purple with just a simple wash in the same way we did on the very first layers. And it will kind of just blend out the back of the magnet, right? Because the magnet's not visible. It's inside the casted item. Which means it's not as much of a choking hazard for children. Magnets are dangerous. We don't want them swallowing it. So for a person to get the magnet out of this item, they're going to really go to work on it with a hammer. And even then, it probably won't even come free of the plastics that I casted it in. So depending on the size of the magnet and how much magnet power it has, it depends on how big the magnet is inside. But when it's all casted, it really doesn't matter. Because it's all recessed, and the customer really won't know what size magnet it is. It's all about strength and having enough strength to hold like paper or whatever it is to the actual refrigerator. But no one would know what size it is, and it's not visible. It looks very nice, neat, and tidy, and that's the goal of these. Is although it may take an extra layer of casting plastic in 2 different pours in a mold, after I set the magnet in, over the first pour, it's really beneficial and it's worth it. So here we are, magic reveal. Now here we are. We're going to come in with a little bit of UV resin. Now it's just going to be very, not much. We're going to come in with just a little bit, and we're just going to come straight out of the tube directly onto the tongue, and we're just going to kind of cake it on, and we're going to let it drip a little bit. I'll kind of flip the item back and forth just a few times to kind of keep the UV resin from like dripping down into the mouth too much, or vice versa, dripping off the tongue. And then I'll get the UV light out here, which is my Igloo 3D printer light canister. Anyways, it's super powerful, and we're just gonna go ahead and hit that real quick with the light so it doesn't kind of drip in a little bit too much of a fashion. And then we'll also apply a little bit of that to the eyes, and then we'll actually let it set in the actual turner with the UV light, and it will actually cure it up fully. I like how when you put it on the UV light, it looks like a demonic red demon ghoul thing. It is not that cool purple color we painted on it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and apply this with the tip of the little UV resin container here. I could have also applied this with a paintbrush, and I would have got a little bit more of an eyeball-like shape. I got a little bit of settling into the little grooves around the eyeball, the socket, as it were. And I'll probably have to do something a little bit different. So maybe next time I'll use a little bit of a silicone tip tool to make sure it doesn't just fully like kind of cover that eye socket portion. But for today, it just covered a little bit more than I wanted it to. And it's no big deal. This is just a trial run to see how it all turns out. It's also the reference that I'll get some of my reference photos for Etsy and things like that off of. Looking pretty good, right? First Ghoul, the actual first painted magnet of my magnet product playlist, which is pretty cool here on my YouTube channel. Not only that, this is also the very first full-length tutorial that I've done for my members only portion of the channel. So super excited for that. Look how great he looks. Now we did also coat him with a clear coat 2 times Rust-Oleum layer, just to give him a little bit extra protection before we did the UV resin. So be aware we did do that. We also painted the back of him as well, and he is absolutely sound with the magnet set inside of him, and he is a cool little magnet ghoul. What do you think, guys? Hope you guys enjoyed this content. Make sure you check out my other videos. If you're a member, again, thank you for being a member of my channel. Of course, you also have a discount code on my Etsy shop. If you want 10% off, you always will get 10% off, and that does also stack. So if I have another sale going on, then you get 10% on top of that. So if something happens and you're not getting that discount, let me know. Catch you later, guys.